One. And good afternoon, producer Susan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Jersey Joe. How are you?
I guess great, thanks. Fall is here. Sleeping with the
Yes.
windows open now. How about you?
No, I still got my air conditioning on. And fall is what next week, right?
Well, actually, today is the 17th, September 17th, and the autumnal equinox is the 22nd, which is Sunday. And of course, the equinox is what? What is the equinox?
It is equal hours
Oh,
of daylight
and night.
and
Right.
darkness, 12 hours of each.
So on Monday, we will have more night hours than daylight hours. So the autumnal equinox is Sunday.
Yep.
All right, you want to hear what we're going to try to talk about today, if I can squeeze
Yep.
it all in?
What's on the agenda?
All right, here we go. Do you know who Dick Cavett is or was?
Name's familiar, but no.
He was a talk show host back in the 1990s. Very conservative, very intelligent guy, very intellectual. He would have, he'd have guests come on. They talk about really, really serious stuff. Like he'd have, what was his name? The Secretary of State, the German guy. Uh, he'd have really serious guests on. It was a late night talk, very intellectual late night talk show. Anyway, our quote of the week comes from Dick Cavett. We have a bunch of Kamala Harris stuff tonight. I mean, by the way, the reason I don't do Donald Trump stuff, stupid stuff, Donald Trump says all sorts of stupid stuff, and the press is all over it. There's not
Mhm.
a single stupid thing that Donald Trump has said that you haven't heard if you've listened to the news. All right.
Mhm.
So for me to be playing something you've already heard six times is pointless. The reason I do so much the Harris stuff because the press doesn't play the stupid stuff she says.
Mhm.
So it's am I conservative? Yes. But the reason I play so much Harris stuff because you'll never hear this stuff outside of this program, whereas you'll hear all the stupid stuff Trump says, and he says a lot of stupid stuff, but
Mhm.
you'll hear about it. So I don't need to play it again here. Um, there's a new movie came out last week called Am I a Racist? Have you heard of it?
I saw the previews.
Right, and it's a lampooning. By the way, the producer of this movie did one previously 6 months ago called "Am I a Woman?" And it's basically a lampooning of the woke movement and the gender identity movement. And I've got
Mhm.
a clip of the trailer of this movie. It is truly hilarious. People have seen it, have are just say it's just hilarious. Um, I'm talking about New York City accuracy in shooting. Yesterday in New York City, two New York City cops cornered a guy in a subway car with a knife. And as he approached them with his knife in his hand, they both shot at him. Now, a subway car is not, you've been on a subway car, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big car. I mean, it's not a lot, and you're not going to shoot at the guy if he's at the other end of the car and you're at the other end, right? But no, this guy got close enough that for them to decide, and they shot him. In the course of shooting him, which they did, they also accidentally shot two women. And we're going to talk about why New York City cops are notoriously bad shots. So, and there's actually, it's really not the cops' fault. Um, we'll tell you how many people are claiming that both Sunday's attempted assassination of President Trump and the July attempt, in which two people died, were, according to them, both staged events. And ask, does it worry you that these people can also vote? Uh,
Yeah.
I've got another Vice President Harris clip of her responding to a question about criminal acts committed by illegal aliens. You know who Bob Hope was, right?
Yep. Yep.
Well, I've got a 50-year-old clip of Bob Hope asking a question about zombies, and the answer is hilarious, and it's just as relevant and funny today as it was 50 years ago. And finally, our taxpayer relief shot comes to us, Detroit, where a 74-year-old geezer homeowner shoots and kills an armed and dangerous intruder. So, teenager versus 74-year-old geezer, and it did not come out well for the violent teenager. All right. So
I
here's
think that
Dick
some
Cavett.
people might be offended by the fact that you're calling 74-year-old
Oh,
geezer.
people geezers. Anyway, by the way, I've actually got one where there was a 92-year-old World War vet, 92-year-old World War vet. Three thugs entered his house, and the 92-year-old World War vet shot and killed one of the three. Anyway, by the way, in that one, his two buddies, since he wasn't dead yet, they dragged him out, and he died in the car. Anyway, so here's Dick Cavett, very intellectual talk show host, late night, always very serious. And here was his quote, which I think is think about this for a minute. He said, "It is the rare person who wants to hear what they don't want to hear. Now
Mhm.
think about that. I'm going to say that again. It is the rare person who wants to hear what they don't want to hear. Now, can you think of a situation where that's important for you to
Oh,
want to hear what you don't want to hear?
yeah, all the time.
Yeah. So if you own a business, you don't want to hear bad things about your product or
Mhm.
your service.
Yeah.
But if people are saying it, you want to hear it because you can't fix what you don't know is broken. So if
Mhm.
people are unhappy with your product or unhappy with your service, you hate hearing that stuff, but you want to hear that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, because that's the only way you're going to get better. So, and I've been in that situation, in my hundreds of times in my professional career where, I've gone out of my way to ask people, well, what could we have done better? And by one of the things I used to do is I would have somebody assigned to call customers. We would pick certain customers and they would call and they do a
Mhm.
satisfaction rating. Were you happy with the service? Blah, blah, blah. And then they say on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being delighted and 1 being very, how would you rate us? And we always got a bunch of 4s and whatnot. But here's the thing we asked when the guy said, well, we're very happy. I'll give you guys a 4. And here was the killer question. Well, Mr. Jones, thank you very much. We really appreciate that high rating. But could I ask you one more question? What would we have had to do differently to earn the 5?
Yeah.
Okay. And we would tell our technicians, satisfied customers can switch. If I'm satisfied with somebody makes me a better deal, I might switch. Delighted customers rarely switch. I mean, if you're delighted with somebody, whether it be your landscaper or the guy that plows your snow, and you are delighted with their service. If somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I can beat that guy's price by $10," if you're delighted with the first guy, you're going to switch to save $10?
No, not
No.
at all.
So that's why I impressed upon every business I've ever run and all of our techs that our goal is not to satisfy the customer. Our goal is to delight the customer. And if we're not delighting the customer, we need to find out what it takes. And by the way, the vast majority of the time, it had nothing to do with how well we performed the service. It had to do things, well, I couldn't read the handwriting on his time ticket, or
Mhm.
he parked his truck in the no parking zone. It was little stuff like that,
Mhm.
um, that had nothing to do with the actual performance of the service. It was about the peripheral stuff. So that's the stuff. And unless you ask, you sometimes won't find that. Anything you want to add to that before I move
Yeah,
on?
I mean, I am one of those survey takers. I will take surveys for exceptional service or not exceptional service. I am one of those people. I do take my surveys.
Okay. Or you're a survey responder. You're not a survey.
Responder, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, if you're ever in a position where you want to run a survey, I would urge you to do the 1 to 5. And then the killer question is, if you say you get the 4, not the 5, the killer question is, what would we have had to do differently to earn the 5? And that's the killer question. All right. So this is the stupidest thing I've heard all week. And this is Vice President Kamala Harris. Um, uh, First, she's talking to a group of young people, telling them how smart they are. And I'm going to have to. I hope here we go. She's addressing a group of 6, 7 very young people, all of voting age. I think there might be campaign workers. So here's her. Here's the first one. All right.
I mean, I love you guys. You are so smart. You are not patient. You are just ready to lead. And I'm counting on you guys. I really am. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
Now, by the way, you just heard her,
Yeah.
blowing smoke up their butts, right? About how
Yep.
smart they are and you're leaders, you're the future of this company. And now she's telling this audience of people how stupid 18 to 24-year-olds are.
That is why we put them in dormitories and they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
I'm going to play that one over again. Here we go.
And I mean, I love you guys. You are so smart. You are not patient. You are just ready to lead. And I'm counting on you guys. I really am. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories and they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
So which one is the real Kamala Harris?
Yeah, and it's interesting because her dormitory remark, she's talking about the educated 18 to 24-year-olds.
Yeah, college kids, right. And these college kids in dormitories, they're stupid. They make bad decisions. Well, gee, Kamala, what is it? Were you just blowing smoke up their butts? Because the first group were clearly college-age kids.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't 14-year-olds. They were clearly young people of college age. 18, you know, she said she was in the second clip, she called out 18 to 24. Well, I guarantee you, everybody in that first clip was between 18 to 24. Now, you didn't hear that on the news, did you?
No, not at all.
No. Now, you heard a lot of stupid stuff that Trump said about people eating cats and dogs, right?
Yeah, I did hear that.
So for me to play that would be pointless because it'd be like the umpteenth time you heard it.
Mhm.
So, so that's why I'm playing so much Kamala Harris stuff. All right. Let's move on to the new movie, which opened in theaters last week, called "Am I a Racist?" And I think if you get a chance to see it, you should. And here's that clip of "Am I a Racist?" Hang on, I might have to.
In this country, it's Nazism. Republicans are not
Hang on.
clear what's happening in this country. It's Nazism. Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up in the 90s, I never thought much about race. Sure, you noticed, but never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Being a white, straight, cisgender man is the top of the pile.
I'm on the top of the pile, that's me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Can you please leave?
And that's a black woman leading a class on diversity, and she's asking him to leave the class because he's asking too many embarrassing questions. It goes on.
I'm going to sort this out. I need to go deeper undercover.
And what he does is he puts on a wig with a man bun, and he pretends to be a woke male liberal with a man bun. Here we go.
If I want to be an ally, I need to look like one.
What is racism?
Martin Luther King said not to judge people by
King said a lot of stuff.
is America inherently racist? What the hell is that?
The word inherent is challenging there. America is racist to its bones. All of the,
Yeah, the entire system has to burn. And I'm not going to even use save this country. This country is not worth saving. This country is a piece of shit.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. They gonna say I'm racist.
joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. Where are you guys in your anti-racist journeys? So look around the room and point to who we believe is the most racist person in the room. We want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument. Would you mind signing it? You will?
He's out with his man bun. He's getting people to sign a petition to rename the Washington Monument as the George Floyd monument. And
What do you think about this issue of heteronormativity and how it intersects with the broader structures of racism in society? What's up with white people? What are you doing to decenter your whiteness?
Who's making it the center? Why are they doing that?
What you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. White
Folks,
White.
trash, white supremacy, white woman, white boy,
White.
entitlement,
White.
centering,
White.
silence.
Is there a black person around here? There's a black person right here. Does he not exist? They gonna say I'm racist. Hi, Robin.
Hi. And what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Matt. Hi, Matt.
Nice to meet you.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
I'll never be too careful.
anyway, if you want to laugh, if you think the whole woke movement, is way overdone, I would urge you to see this movie. It's getting great reviews. Not from liberals, by the way, not from liberals, but from people who are kind of a little more rational. So it's not for everybody, but what do you think? Have you seen the trailer before?
I've seen the trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
And you saw him put on the wig with the man bun and whatnot.
Yep. Yep.
Some of the scenes are staged, but a lot of the scenes are actual him interacting with people like, sitting in this diversity class and whatnot. So it really is just a great put on and exposing some of the hypocrisy there. All right. So moving on. So I mentioned earlier about the two police officers wounding these two innocent women when they shot this guy in the subway car.
Mhm.
So, and then I started looking, and I'd heard this before. Anyway, when the police in New York City fire their weapons, do you know what percentage of the time their bullets actually hit the intended target?
Oh, I'm gonna say 50% of the time.
Way, way too high. Try only 30% of the time.
Oh, wow. That's
wow.
sad. You'd expect police to have better aim.
Right now, have you ever shot a gun before?
Yes, I have many times.
All right. So here's what happened, and here's why it's not all their fault. 25 years ago, everybody in New York City carried a revolver. And a
Mhm.
revolver, which doesn't have a safety, but revolvers with the hammer down require an incredibly long, heavy pull because the pull of the trigger first has to cock the hammer all the way back. And after it comes all the way back, then it finally snaps forward, which is why revolvers don't have safeties because it's almost impossible to get an accidental discharge from a revolver. Now, modern semi-automatic pistols without a safety, they're always cocked. And it only takes about a 4-pound pressure on the trigger to discharge that. Well, the bureaucrats, when they're making this change from revolvers to semi-automatic, well, we don't want accidental discharges. So they put out a specification for the gun that said it will have a minimum of an 11-pound trigger pull. Now, an 11-pound trigger pull is huge. I mean, you could hang a pot roast from the trigger. You know how big an 11-pound piece of meat is?
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you hung an 11-pound pot roast from the trigger of your gun and it still didn't fire. Okay. So now they could have done a bunch of other things. They could have ordered guns with normal trigger pulls, which are right around 4 pounds, or they could have ordered guns with, or safeties, or they could have ordered semi-automatic pistols that had hammers. But no, they ordered a Glock pistols with no hammer and no safety and they said, okay, we like your gun. It's a good price. It's highly reliable, but you have to make a special trigger for us, which has a trigger pull of no less than 11 pounds. So Glock developed what they called their New York City trigger, which you can't buy because nobody in their right mind wants to buy a pistol with an 11-pound that takes 11 pounds of pressure to pull, because as you're trying to squeeze that trigger, you're basically jerking the gun to the right away from the target. So it's been going this way for 20 years. Anyway, about 2 years ago, they started doing an experiment with the new recruits, and they gave them pistols with the normal 4 to 5 pound trigger pull and the standard. And the new recruits shot significantly better with the new guns with the lighter trigger pull. So now they've begun equipping the new recruits with the standard gun with the regular trigger, but they have done nothing to retrofit the thousands of guns that the veteran police officers are still carrying around. And again, if you know anything about guns, an 11-pound trigger pull, actually most of them, it was an 11-pound minimum. So to be safe, Glock ships and most were closer to 12 pounds. And that's just a ridiculously heavy trigger pull. So once again, bureaucrats, their solution was worse than the problem. So yeah, maybe there could have been a couple of accidental discharges a year, but they gave these guys guns where it's difficult. Again, you're only hitting your target 30% of the time, which is just outrageous.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's how the bureaucrats have once again screwed up something. What's the road to hell? What's it they say? The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Good intentions. Yep.
Well, that was good intentions paving the road to hell. All right. I spend some time every morning on these liberal sites. And
Fighting with people who eat paste.
Well, I do, and I think I told you I've blocked over 100 of them, and I even go on sites which are not supposed to be liberal, like Axios, which is supposed to be political neutral. And the other day I started seeing, this was Monday after the shooting attempt in Florida, and there were not 1, not 20, not 50, literally hundreds of people posting essentially the same comment, which was, and yet another staged assassination attempt orchestrated by the Trump campaign. Trump must be getting desperate. Now, so they're claiming, and when they say another, they're also implying that the first one in July, in which 2 people died, was a staged event. And again, it's hundreds of people believe in their souls that both of these events were staged by the Trump campaign, including the one where 2 people died. And and you point this out to them, so are you saying they staged this event? Well, how come they're rational? They're absolutely delusional. So I just want everybody to know that yes, and these are only people that have posted to Facebook. Then you see like some of these comments are getting like 50 and 60 likes. Like, people like when they staged another staged event, and it's like getting like 50 likes. So I don't know if hundreds of people are posting and hundreds more are liking. There are thousands of delusional liberals out there who honestly believe that the Trump campaign has staged both the July attempt and this one on Sunday. What's your reaction to that?
I don't believe that either of them were staged. I don't know what's the deal with these two people who actually did the shooting. It is what makes you wonder though, like, how could there be two assassinations attempts? Usually you don't, it's rare for a presidential candidate or a former president or even current president to be assassinated. I mean, we've had a few over, the years.
Right.
But it's not a regular occurrence.
No, it isn't. So, well, but Trump is so easy to hate. We all know this. Trump, it's so easy to hate Trump. I mean,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
My wife hates. She's going to vote for him, but my wife hates Donald
Yeah,
Trump.
I can't stand him either.
Yeah, so he's such an easy guy to hate. And if you're gullible, we talk about useful idiots. If you believe that the trash that some of these sites promote about him, that he's going to become a dictator by the end of the democracy, save our democracy. I mean, they have these people convinced that Trump is really going to turn the United States into a dictatorship if he gets reelected. And they believe that. So if you believe that in your heart, then you're acting with good intentions. But, that's what happens. They've been brainwashed that Trump is, Hitler incarnate, and that's where they are. So how much time we got left?
Let's see. Well, you got a good 10, 12 minutes.
Okay. Well, good. That's probably just about right time. So we've talked in the show about, several incidents where illegal immigrants, they've been attacking police officers. They murdered the nursing student in Georgia, and there was another one in Texas, a young girl, 13-year-old girl was, murdered and raped. And there's been, so far in the last 12 months, there's been 6 U.S. citizens have been murdered by illegal immigrants. We talked about the teenage immigrant gangs roaming New York City's Central Park, robbing people, multiple people, sometimes multiple people in a day. Women being raped. So, there's just this epidemic of serious violent crime by illegal immigrants. Well, Kamala Harris was asked about, what she thought about this violent crime by illegal immigrants. And here's how she responded to that. Now, this is serious, right? People getting murdered, women getting raped. And here's her response.
It is our undocumented immigrants that are the least likely to commit a crime.
Police report as many as 75% of the people they've arrested in Midtown Manhattan for assault, robbery, and domestic violence are illegal migrants.
Police have tracked down a killer whose crimes spanned the country. Rachel Marin was dragged from a hiking trail in Maryland where she was raped and murdered.
Police say Brandon Ortiz Vite used a handgun he bought illegally to shoot Ruby Garcia multiple times on Friday.
The prime suspect charged in Laken Riley's murder was 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra. He illegally entered the United States back in 2022.
A Texas grand jury indicted Rafael Govea Romero. He's accused of attacking 16-year-old Lisbeth Medina by repeatedly hitting her head and stabbing her.
So let's get our notions together about what we're talking about.
Yep. So and again, I'm going to play the very first clip. It was that her laugh is, she's trying to dismiss the claim that illegal aliens are committing a lot of crime. And here, I'm going to start this over.
It is our undocumented immigrants that are the least likely to commit a crime.
Police report.
She calls them our undocumented aliens are least likely to commit crime. And then she's laughing her ass off at the question.
Yeah, this is such a serious issue.
Yeah. And even if you believe that, laughing about it as you give your answer is totally inappropriate. And again, I play stuff like this here because you would never see that on the evening news. Never. So if you don't hear it here, you're not going to hear it. That's why we call it the situation news and perspective you won't hear on TV. All right, let's see what else I've got here. So you remember Bob Hope, right? He was before your time, but a famous comedian. He did some movies. And here's a clip, and I saw this clip, and I couldn't believe it was 50 years old. But here's Bob Hope talking to a guy. I think this is a scene from a movie, or it might have been a skit on TV. But here's Bob Hope. There's a guy explaining to Bob Hope what a zombie is, and here we go.
Seems a certain voodoo priest who have the power to bring him back to life. It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring. You mean like Democrats? You live there? Yeah, maybe you.
You mean like Democrats? I'm going to play it one more time. Yeah, the first guy speaking is not Bob Hope. Bob Hope is the guy that asked the question. Here we go.
No, what a zombie is. When a person dies and is buried, seems a certain voodoo priest who have the power to bring him back to life. It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring. You mean like Democrats?
So even then, I laughed my butt off when I heard that one. So yeah, is that a clip you want to put up on the website?
Yeah, I'll put that up on the website.
Yeah, I think that's a winner. All right. So now we're going to move on to our taxpayer relief shot. And why do we call them taxpayer relief shots? Well, I'll let the sheriff of Santa Rosa County, Florida, explain it to you. Here we go.
Somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. Hopefully, you'll save taxpayers money.
And do we have time for Sheriff Polk or Grady Judd, rather?
Sure.
All right, let me find Grady Judd. There we go.
He was on the news the other night too, and I forget why Sheriff Judd was on the news the other night.
You want to hear the grated cheese, or you want to hear him blowing back out of the house?
Blow him back out of the house.
All right.
But we have received information in social media that some of the criminals were going to take their criminal conduct into the neighborhoods. I would tell them, if you value your life, you probably shouldn't do that in Polk County, because the people of Polk County like guns. They have guns. I encourage them to own guns, and they're going to be in their homes tonight with their guns loaded. And if you try to break into their homes to steal, to set fires, I'm highly recommending they blow you back out of the house with their guns.
And again, we call them taxpayer relief shots because not only is it the quarter $250,000 for the trial, well, of course, they all get a court-appointed attorney, but it's $80,000 a year to put a thug in jail. So, 10 years in jail at 80,000 years, 800,000, and $200,000 for the trial. You're in for $1 million bucks. If you want to arrest a thug, give him a trial, and send him to jail, that's $1 million of taxpayer money. Anyway, so here's this 74-year-old geezer. I probably shouldn't talk, but here's this 74-year-old guy confronting a very dangerous armed teenage thug. And here we go. And by the way, the teenage thug has a stolen gun. So no, teenage thugs don't buy their guns in gun shows. Here we go.
Tonight about the teenager who broke into a Southgate home and ended up dead.
Police have now identified him, and they're revealing new details about the crime tonight. 7 Action News reporter Anu Prakash has the update.
19-year-old James Clickard is the man Southgate police say broke into his neighbor's home early Thursday morning and wound up dead. They made the positive ID using fingerprints. Investigators say the 74-year-old homeowner shot and killed Clickard after Clickard pointed a gun at him. They've also learned the teen's gun had been reported stolen.
It was taken in a home invasion in the city of Taylor sometime in 2014.
Police say they don't know if Clickard was involved in that home invasion or how he got his hands on that stolen gun. Yesterday morning, they say he was in the process of stealing prescription drugs and electronics when he was confronted by the homeowner.
There was I believe, a computer and a box containing some pharmaceuticals that he had taken from the home were outside of the door wall.
Police believe this was a justified shooting, but will be turning over their investigation to the prosecutor, who has the final say.
Terrifying moment for the homeowner that, you're just finding out your home was broken into, and now someone's pointing a gun at you, and you have to make a decision, a very quick decision to protect yourself.
In Southgate, Anu Prakash, 7 Action News.
So if you're going to own a gun, practice, because sometimes it comes down to who's the better shot. So what'd you think of that one?
Yeah, and I did look up, so our wonderful Sheriff Grady Judd, he just did a massive operation where he arrested 144 violent gang members.
Well, good. Can you send me
So
the link?
I just hope that their state attorney is actually going to prosecute them.
You and I both. Yeah, send me the link. That I'd love to see it. All right. Well, folks, I want to, producer Susan, anything you want to add to today's show?
Nope, and it's beautiful weather out. Enjoy the weather.
Yep, you too. Windows open. All right.
Yep.
Anyway, I want to thank all of you who listen to the podcast for giving up 30 minutes out of your busy day to listen to me ramble on about the things I find of interest and important, and the things you won't hear on TV, because we played a lot of stuff you'll never hear on TV. And I hope you found them as interesting and important as I did. And if so, I hope you continue to listen in the weeks and months to come. And if you want to see some materials and story links and the video links we talked about today, give producer Susan a couple of days. She'll get them up on the website at jerzeyjoe.com, which is J-E-R as in Robert, Z as in zebra, E-E, Jerzee, Joe, with no space, no hyphen, just jerzeyjoe.com. If you want to send me an email with a comment, question, or suggested show topic, you can do that. So send me an email to just joe@jerzeyjoe.com. Just remember to spell Jerzee Joe with a Z and a Z-R and a double E. And with that, producer Susan, unless you have anything to add, I will sign off and talk to you next week. You good?
All right. Enjoy the weather.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.